Hey, it's Mr. K, Chemistry 30, Unit D review, numeric response number 4. Okay, so we're looking at these substances here. Question number 1, the species that is both polyprotic and amphiprotic. Well, they haven't stated if they're talking about an acid or a base, so we could look for anything that it could donate two or more protons or accept 2 or more protons. So looking here, I can see I've got a COOH group or a carboxylic acid group. This can donate 2 protons, so it is polyprotic. This one, and amphiprotic, excuse me, there we go. I was wondering why it couldn't be all 3. And then this one down here, this only has 1 H, so it's not a polyprotic acid, but it has a 2 negative, meaning it can gain 1 proton, 2 protons, becoming H3, so it is a polyprotic base. Secondly, since they both have an H to donate and an H to accept, H to donate, H to accept, they are amphiprotic. By definition, amphiprotic is both acid and base. Polyprotic is accepting or donating more than 1 proton. All right, next. The species that is the conjugate base of this one, which is number 2. All right, so the conjugate base meaning once this has acted as an acid, it has a conjugate base. So once it donates one of those 2 H's, we only have 1 remaining. This was the acid. This is the conjugate base. In contrast, as a base, this would be its conjugate acid. Acid, base, and the next pair, acid, base, next pair, acid, then base. So your best option is 3. Next one, the species with the weakest conjugate base. Well, we should know that if this is my strongest acid, just getting weaker and weaker as I go down the series, the bases are going to be getting stronger and stronger for the conjugates, meaning that this thing's, or number 3's conjugate base is going to be very strong, and then weaker, and then weakest. Another way to state this is strong acids have very weak conjugate bases. So that means number 1 is the species with the weakest conjugate base. Lastly, a buffer. So a buffer, by definition, is large equal amounts of a weak acid and its conjugate. Now, looking at this, COOH3 is this one. Like we just talked about, its conjugate is number 2. That's the acid, that's the conjugate base. Now, it could have been anything that is its conjugate. So in this case, 3 could have gone with 2. Those are conjugates. And a separate question, it could have asked, what would be the buffer for this one? And it could have been that conjugate or this conjugate. But since it's asking for 1, the only conjugate is number 2. Okay, again, buffer definition, large equal amounts of a weak acid and its conjugate base. Okay, thanks for tuning in.